All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Theory. On this episode, we are back out at the killing fields. It's May 2025, and we are out here to do an expedition, some research, and just to camp out in the woods. Simple enough, but yeah. The last time I was out here, which was a few days ago, we had some Bigfoot activity. I was really shocked by what I experienced, and I didn't come out here to make a video. I came out here to meet up with some friends, and we hung out with David around the campfire, and we weren't planning on staying the night, nor did we. But what happened first was we were talking about the orbs that we had seen, because the other group that was out here talked about seeing the lights as well. And I was looking with my thermal device, and I saw a heat signature down there where we had seen the orbs in the past, and I just thought it was weird. I honestly thought it was heat radiating off of a rock, because it was daytime, and a lot of the times when the sun's shining, the trees and the rocks collect heat. But when I looked back later on, that heat signature was gone. No, I did not record it, but at the same time, it was just a shape. I'm not sure what it was. Could have been a rock. That's what I was thinking at the time. But after it disappeared, I was thinking maybe it was something else. So later on, we heard a strange vocalization when we were standing around the campfire, and me and another person heard it. I mean, it sounded like, to me, like it was a female juvenile Sasquatch. I mean, it sounded monstrous, and it was high pitched and long and drawn out. That's the best I can say. Then about maybe 20 or 30 minutes after that, in the opposite direction towards the park, we heard this monstrous sound, and this one was more, it had a deeper pitch to it, and it was long and drawn out as well. It was pretty similar to the first one, except the first one was high pitched and the second one was pretty deep and guttural, and it carried out for quite a bit, for quite some time anyways. David didn't hear it, but he was talking, and I don't know if some of the other people in the group heard it as well, but I'm not sure if they heard it, but me and another person heard it for sure. We both looked at each other, and we pretty much confirmed that we both heard the same thing, except she was saying she heard it this way and I was saying that way, which it's really hard to tell when you're out in the woods. It's really hard to say exactly what direction a vocalization is coming from. And I've seen that a lot with turkey hunters. One person will say, I heard a gobble this way, and the other guy's pointing over here. So yeah, it's just hard to tell where sound's coming from when you're deep in the wilderness. But yeah, I'm out here again, hoping that we experience some activity. So me and one of the group members went down the trail where I seen the eye shine, where we had been seeing the orbs in the past. And I didn't say anything to her, but my heart was just like racing, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I was like, well, I guess I'm fat and out of shape. I've been drinking an energy drink, so I'm not gonna say anything. I didn't want to embarrass myself. But when we got back, she said, man, my heart was going crazy, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. And after the trip, we both talked about it a little bit more, and yeah, we both experienced the same thing at the same spot, right there where we had been seeing the orbs. And it was just strange, because I don't know, I felt like I was gonna pass out. And we didn't walk that far, so I was like, why am I out of breath? Why is my heart going crazy? But yeah, I don't know, there's something about that ridge right in front of me, and we keep seeing the orbs. We keep experiencing activity there. David's had a lot of activity there in the past, and right past that ridge is the killing fields, where there's been a lot of mutilated animals, a lot of strange finds, and from rock throwing to wood knocks, trees being pushed over, trees blocking the trails. There's just been a lot. And yeah, even the neighbor claims that a UFO landed in his field and he went up there and touched it. But that person isn't around anymore, but his family is. The guy who actually touched the UFO, I think, is now deceased, but that's what they claim. I've never got it on record, but that's what David heard, and I believe him. But yeah, the vocalizations, that's the whole reason I came back as soon as I did. And they were otherworldly. The reason I think it's Bigfoot, because in another section of Missouri in the Mark Twain National Forest where one of my past guests was having Bigfoot activity. They came up to the cabin, they were wood knocking, pushing over trees, and he had been seeing them. That next morning, they were vocalizing, and that's exactly what these vocals sounded like. So another strange thing that happened recently was David found a deer in his field, and it looked like somebody had killed that deer and deboned it, but you can tell that it was an animal because it looked like it was gnawed on, like something had been chewing on it, but it's pretty strange. I told David to get video footage of it, so if he did get video, here it is. But yeah, that is really strange. There's something out here killing animals. He's had a lot of calves go missing, and I'm out here to figure out what's going on. All right, so there's been a lot of people in the comments that have told me that they are unable to get out in the forest because of their health conditions, whether it's a person that's crippled, somebody who has lupus, cancer, whatever it may be. They said that they watch these videos because it makes them feel like they are out in the woods and they appreciate what I do. So I wanted to tell you guys that this video is entirely for you guys, and I really appreciate you. And I completely understand. Whenever I was going through health issues, I would watch people elk hunting, people camping out in the woods, and it made me feel like I was out there with them. So yeah, I'm definitely able to relate to you guys, and I'm really sorry to hear that you're going through so much, and I want you guys to know that I'm praying for you. So this entire video is for you, and I wanted to say that I really appreciate you, okay? All right, now what we are going to do is head out and set up an audio recorder in the conservation area in the direction where I think I heard that vocalization last time. And in that same spot, if you guys watch this video, there's been a BFRO report, a Class A sighting, exactly where I heard that vocalization at. So that's where I'm going to set up this audio recorder, okay? Hopefully we get something, maybe we won't, and it always happens when you least expect it. So let's take the Quiet Cat e-bike out there and set up the Olympus audio recorder. All right, so we're in the conservation area right now, and what my plan is, we're gonna find the first road on the right and head down that way, because right around here somewhere is where we heard that vocalization. And I don't wanna get too far away from the vocalization, but I also don't wanna be too close to camp. But thinking we are getting pretty close. This looks like a little road here. I think this could be a good spot. I think down this trail is where Adam's friends have had sightings at. Yeah, there's a little campground here. Okay, cool. We'll try to set up the audio recorder somewhere around here. Okay, this looks like a good enough spot. Hopefully we are high enough to where we can capture some sounds, but definitely feels spooky out here. This is dogman territory, my friends. Somewhere right in here we can hang up the audio recorder, and I think this is the direction where the Sasquatch were vocalizing from, and like I said, it was monstrous. It sounded horrendous. It was one of those types of vocalizations where your eyes are bulging out of your freaking head because you can't distinguish what the heck you just heard. I mean, it was that intense, guys. Okay, we have audio recorder number 2 set up on this ridge that people have called Sasquatch Ridge in the past. There's been a lot of activity here, and this is where we heard the vocalization. So hopefully they vocalize again, and if not, just gonna be another wild goose chase, but we're out here nonetheless, guys. Let's do it. All right, so the plan now is to head back to David's farm. We're going to set up another audio recorder at his place, or possibly right behind his place, off of a trail that we've noticed in the past where there's just a bunch of trees blocking the trail. I've explored it before, and it's just tree after tree after tree on the trail. And that seems to be where the orbs are coming from. We think that's where they're coming from, into the killing fields, and whatever it is mutilating cattle, stealing baby calves, killing deer, and we think that is the origin of the orbs, vice versa. I mean, it could be the orbs are the cryptids or the cryptids are the orbs. Either way, it's all connected, and I feel like there's something going on underneath us. And in the Ozarks, there are giant cave systems all over the place. And I've noticed that in other places that have Sasquatch activity, especially like Kentucky, where the Daniel Boone National Forest is, not too far away is Mammoth Cave. And out here in Missouri, you have Merrimack Caverns, and there's just caves all over the place. But also in Florida, there's been a lot of skunk ape or swamp ape activity in Florida, and I heard there's a lot of caves there. So I don't know how it's like in the Appalachian Mountains, but I suspect that there's cave systems there as well. So yeah, anywhere that people have had Bigfoot activity, there's major waterways, cave systems, springs, and dense forests. So that's what I've noticed. Like on a physical point of view with the cryptid activity, they're always close to water. So keep that in mind. All right, so now we are heading to a conservation trail that runs behind the killing fields. And like I said, there's a lot of trees that block off that area. And another strange thing is that they closed that gate. There's trails all over this conservation area, and for some reason, the gate is shut at this particular conservation trail. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll find something. So here's the gate. It's shut. If you've watched the videos before, I've filmed this, but I'll show you guys kind of what I'm talking about. As you guys can see, all the trees are pretty much directly across the trail, which is pretty strange. All right, we'll have to park the bike right here. I don't want to go any further with the bike. This trail mix is tasting a little bit stale. It's been in my bag for quite a while. So I'm going to put it right here on this log. But yeah, as you guys can see, there's trees that are falling directly across the trail. And I think this is the direction where I heard one of the vocalizations. I think it was this way, but the person that was with us said it was that way. But I'm not really sure. But I do suspect that they would be on this side of the farm, which is deep, deep conservation area, opposed to on the other side, where it's still deep woods, but it's more towards town. So yeah, let's try to set up the audio recorder somewhere around here. We'll have to keep an eye out for rattlesnakes, because the snakes are definitely out. Another thing that seems suspicious is why hasn't the conservation people logged this? Like, why are they just letting it grow up? It's like they don't want people back here. They got the gate shut too. That's another indication that they don't want people in here. There's something back here that they're not telling us about. I've heard other channels talk about that too, that they will shut the gates when they know that there's Sasquatch back there. I mean, look at this. It's hard for you guys to tell where the trail is, but I'm on the trail. Look at that break. And it's directly across the trail. Look at that. Both those trees are pushed over and they're blocking the trail. Ooh, it's gonna be nasty back here. But do you guys see how grown up this trail is? It's insane. They definitely don't want side-by-sides back here. A few years ago, Adam came back here with my buddy, Joe, the Ozark Hairy Man. And it was in the summertime, and Joe looked on his arm, and he was like, huh, there's a bunch of dirt on my arm. and he noticed it was just a swarm of ticks. He was like, oh. I laughed. I guess he's never ran into sea ticks, and I mean, he was covered in them. But yeah, ticks are really bad right now. It just takes one tick to get a disease for the rest of your life, and people have, I think they've died off of tick bites, but I definitely know it'll make you really sick if you get, I think it's called Lyme disease, tick fever. Which there's a YouTuber, I think her name is Little Red Heidi Hood. I think that's her name. Her name's Heidi. I think she's from like North Carolina or Virginia, but she got bit by a tick, and she's always talking about how sick she is from that tick bite. So I definitely understand. My uncle got bit by a tick, and he cannot eat red meat. For some reason, the only thing he can eat is chicken and fish. I don't know what the deal is with that, but for some reason, it really messes with you. I've heard of people getting bit by these ticks and getting the disease, and they're not able to sleep. Like, they just can't sleep. They have like nightmares. But like I said, it only takes one tick to screw you up for life. All right. We'll find a good spot for the recorder, and we'll head back to camp and keep things going. Okay, so the second audio recorder is set up in the conservation area behind the killing fields, right off of the trail where they've blocked it off, where we heard the vocalizations. So we have 2 audio recorders in the park. And still, even if they vocalize tonight, there's no guarantee that we will capture it. There's so much land around here that we just can't cover the whole thing. Even if I set up all my audio recorders on David's property, we still probably wouldn't capture it because there's so much land just on his property, let alone the conservation area. This area is huge, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that something happens, and hopefully it does. Like I said, a few days ago I was out here and they were vocalizing and the place was active. Unfortunately, I had to leave, but I made plans to come back, and I did, so we'll see what happens. I'm hearing woodpeckers, I'm hearing crows fire off, and the wind's been blowing today. It's not too bad, but it's blowing enough to where if something did vocalize, it's gonna be hard to hear it on the audio recorder. So hopefully by tonight, it all calms down. But yeah, we're gonna go back and we're gonna head down into the killing fields. We'll go to David's house, visit with him for a little bit, come back, and we'll be ready for tonight's investigation. And a big goal of mine is to record these orbs. We've been seeing a lot of strange lights out there at David's place, so I think I have a battle plan to capture these things on film. So again, fingers crossed, no guarantees, but we're out here nonetheless, so let's get at it. All right, let's hop back on the bike, head back to camp, and continue working, researching, and hopefully we can document something. All right, so I set up the GoPro 11 on time-lapse mode, and I have it plugged up to an external battery, and that battery is on the ground, but you guys can't see it. There's the battery. But anyways, yeah, the GoPro is facing the killing fields, and we're gonna get an awesome time-lapse of what's going on out here. Hopefully a Sasquatch walks across the field, but if not, it's gonna make some awesome B-roll. All right, we will continue searching the property. We're gonna go up to David's house and talk with him about Bigfoot activity and see what he has to say. But yeah, we're gonna see if we can go up to David's place and give one of our viewers a call. One of our viewers has been going through a lot, and she said that she has lupus and she can't get out in the woods. She can't even get out in the sunlight. So let's give her a call, see how she's doing. Maybe she'll answer, maybe she won't. But yeah, if you don't answer, hopefully you're doing well, and yeah, we're out here for you, and this is the killing fields. Hopefully I don't get killed in the field. But yeah, I do suspect that Sasquatch activity will be taking place on this trip, and I'm just super confident about it because, like I said, I experienced Bigfoot activity the last time I was out here, and I know they're around here. They've been killing animals in these fields, and we're gonna go up to David's place. We're gonna check out the footage that he filmed of the dead deer in the field, and it looked like it was mutilated to me, so we'll have a look. Oh yeah, a lot of minnows in there. I noticed that last time. Hear that big splash back there?
I'm giving them something. Did you hear a big splash?
Yeah, something huge splashed back there. No, well, yeah, there's some fish in there, David.
I know. I put a bunch of them in there.
What are they? Bluegill?
They're a hybrid bluegill. They're the kind that gets real big. I put catfish in there too, but I ain't seen no catfish. I seen them one time. But
You think they're still around? You think they died?
catfish?
No.
I don't know. I think them blue heron made way with them.
Probably.
But these things will not eat fish food. That I put in there that you're seeing here,
Mm-hmm.
they were about that long when I put them in there.
There's a bunch of them in there.
Yeah, but you know what the problem is? You go get you a fishing pole,
Mm-hmm. They don't bite?
you can't even buy a bite.
Really?
They will not.
They've been trained.
I think that when they don't eat this bread, they eat them minnows.
I can't stand people like that. Like, how many Bigfoot you see today?
Yep, that's about the way it is.
They did that to one of my guests from Little Onion Creek. He's not around anymore. He passed away, but somebody said that to him in town, and that guy picked him up by the throat, put him up against the wall. You're like, well, it serves him right.
You better make the best of it, because this is the last.
You know, Jesus liked bread. That's
You
a
like
symbol.
fishes, too.
Yeah, you like fishes too.
They have 7 fishes and
Well, you'll come out here one day and you'll see a Sasquatch picking your fish out of there, and it'll be holding a catfish. And then you'll figure out where the catfish went.
there was 5 little wood ducks.
Those ducks are so cool looking.
And there was 3 geese out here. But the geese are gone, but the little ducks, they're hiding up here in the brush somewhere. They got nest here.
Mm-hmm.
I feed them right down here at the end, that bare spot down there on this way on down where the pond bends that way.
Uh-huh.
I pour out corn every morning. And if I don't pour that corn out, they come waddling up the bank up there and come out there in the yard looking. Hey, you forget something? You didn't pour us out no.
That one time Adam and I walked around the property, that's where I saw the black thing, just a little bit up here behind the pond, and it went this way. It took off like a lemur. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't know what kind of animal that was. It didn't look like Bigfoot, but it did look primate, and it was little. Like the size of a gobbler, like a male turkey, but it wasn't a turkey.
That's where I feed them.
Yeah. I always look for tracks when I walk past the pond. I got a really cool photo when I first started coming out here, a buck standing behind that chair. Yeah.
The cows are just about demolished, like you explained.
Yeah.
Rubbing on it. Tree right there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So you notice this tree was pushed down.
Yeah, see where it broke off right, twisted off right there?
It really is.
It was still attached and was green for a long time, and then it got broke all the way down.
Yeah, and you're back here all the time. But you did hear the whoops coming from the barn that one time.
Yeah, and you can't see, it's a good hiding place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the way you describe the whoops, that's what I heard one time when I was walking back to my house. It was nighttime. It was right after I seen the orbs. I heard a loud thump, and then I heard whoop, whoop, whoop. I guess the little one charged me. I heard the big thump, and then that little one came at me. I didn't know what it was. At that point in time, I didn't believe in Bigfoot. I was starting to suspect it, but without seeing one, you couldn't be like, oh yeah, that's what it is.
Get up here to the pond now. The trees just fell. The pond's right there. That's my spring pond.
Yeah.
Deer can nibble on it.
Yeah, I just thought it was strange. I found those two giant trees blocking the gate, and this whole trail, that's where I set up the audio recorder. The whole darn trail's blocked off.
It's over down in the basement. I just got the horns.
Yeah.
That was him.
Okay. This would be the spot.
Lights in the house, or coal oil lights, whichever one. Light, but then the great old big satellites, 10 footers.
It's a little early for the coyotes, don't you think?
Yeah. I'm dreading Little Red having her calf.
Yeah, that's right where they're. It's right where they're going at. All right, we just heard coyotes. It's kind of strange that they're firing off in the middle of the day, or before it gets dark, anyways. Yeah, early in the evening. I turned around to get my chair to move it closer to the fire, and there's a deer over there. And the strange thing was, I was looking down that way. I didn't even see it. When I got up and I was talking, I saw it hop across the little field right behind the GoPro. But David mentioned that could have been Sasquatch. And that's how it would work too. One person would see it, and then boom, it's gone. You know where there's a lot of Bigfoot reports? Asheville, North Carolina. My buddy, the Ozark Harry man, he just sent me a report from that area.
Huh.
I keep hearing that town pop up a lot. It's a pretty historical place. Have you? Mm-hmm. I've been close to there. Or maybe I've been there, I don't know. I know I was at a bridge that leads to that spot. It's called Poinsett Bridge. And I guess they built that bridge and that trail and it goes to Asheville, but it's pretty big woods out there for how many people there are.
That's some pretty country out there.
It is. It reminds me of the Current River area, but there's people all around it, but you still have this giant forest.
Yeah.
So down there is where we've been seeing the orbs. So that's why I have the GoPro set up right there, and maybe we'll be able to see something. It's kind of hard to see from up here though. In the wintertime, you can see pretty good down there.
Hard to believe that it's fixing to get hot weather.
Yeah, it's miserable in Missouri whenever it's really hot.
So humid.
No matter where you go, you hear zzz.
Yeah.
Mosquito landing on your head.
Do you sleep with a little battery fan in your tent?
No, I need one though. Yeah, David pointed out that there's a rock in between these two trees. That's kind of strange. I swear I heard some vocalizations over there. Same direction as last time. right, so David just left, and typically when David leaves, the activity begins. As we were sitting there around the campfire talking about Bigfoot, I'm pretty sure I heard a vocalization in the same direction that I heard last time when I was here, which was 6 days ago. Like I said, I heard these wild vocalizations that I believe to be Sasquatch, but I can't be for sure. I don't know what else it would be, but the recorder is in that direction, so hopefully we get some activity. But I don't know. The moon is out, it's overhead, so this place is lit up like a light bulb. But we're also kind of worried about walking around at nighttime with rattlesnakes and copperheads. And I'm more or less just going with the flow to see what happens. Hopefully they show up, but you never know. It's a hit or miss. And like I was telling David, you don't have to camp out here for weeks or months. You just have to be here on the right day. And the last time I was here, I guess that was the right day. And like I said, I wasn't filming. I was just out here visiting. And yeah, it caught us off guard. We were just talking around the campfire and we heard them. And it was like sprinkling that day. So it was kind of raining a little bit. So I don't know, just a strange day. Maybe because there wasn't very many people out and about in the park. So I don't know really. It's just hard to say why these things do what they do when they do it, but it's really hard to document the activity. But yeah, I do have 2 GoPros on night lapse mode. One's facing the killing fields and another one is facing this ridge down here where we typically see the lights, and there's been some strange activity there. So yeah, basically I'm gonna chill out, go with the flow. If something happens, I'm gonna document it, and I don't know, I'll probably walk around a little bit because why not? We have the gear to do that. What would really be nice is if we had a thermal night vision drone in moments like this so we can observe, relax, and listen. But who knows? We're out here to investigate, so we'll get at it, guys. All right, the whippoorwills are going off. We'll try to do a call, see what happens. Maybe we'll get a response. Oh, I hear a vehicle. Hear a flying squirrel. I notice when I do calls, it freaks out the flying squirrels. They start squeaking. Alright, we'll do those calls and then we'll do some wood knocks to see if we get a response typically. I don't know if you guys heard that, but there were some howls. There was definitely a reply. I think it's coyotes, but you never know. Kind of strange that the coyotes would reply to Sasquatch calls. Especially like whoops. Ooh, my recorder is in that direction, so maybe we picked it up. Man, it's spooky out here. I'm sure David heard that when he got to his house. Maybe he was outside when that happened. But of course he'd be like, oh, I'm going in. I'm going inside. Alright, it seems like the woods is coming alive. I'm starting to hear owls, possible coyotes. Cool. I don't know if people are running dogs tonight, but they're pretty loud, and I hope they don't come up to camp. It's been pretty quiet tonight for the most part, but I've only seen a few small critters. I don't know what the deal is. Just seems like when you're not ready, that's when things happen. But of course, that's how life is. I hope those hunting dogs don't come up here. They're not welcome at my camp. Alright, it's the next morning. We didn't hear too much last night. Someone had their hound dogs out there barking like crazy, and I could hear people talking and driving around, which is very unusual for this area. But today, I'm going out there to explore, to see what else I can find. There's got to be something around here, and yeah, I want to go meet up with David to see this video that he took of the deer that was mutilated in the field. And my plan for today is just to explore the conservation area and go down into the fields and see what we can find. But I do feel like they are around, and I think I'm going to explore where I heard the vocalizations last week. It was exactly 7 days today, and yeah, it boggles my mind though that they were vocalizing, and it's just kind of a strange day. Like I said, it was really gloomy. It was sprinkling out, and they were calling back and forth to each other. So if they did that a week ago, I suspect that they're still around. And yeah, they follow the food sources and they do migrate, but they don't migrate like all the way to Canada. They just follow the food and move around. But I think they're still in this general area, which is a vast area. So we'll see what we can find, guys, and it's day number 2, so let's get at it. All right, so I'm out in the conservation area walking around, and I'm basically picking areas where the gate is shut and where they haven't logged too much. I mean, there's sections in here that they've logged, but there's also other sections that have not been maintained. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for old growth forest, and I'm just trying to explore new areas that I've never been to. But the soil around here is very rocky, and it's been wet lately, but I think it's going to be impossible to find a track in areas like this. But it's just kind of a gloomy day. I haven't heard too much, I haven't seen too much, but there's just so much to explore out here, guys, so I'll keep you tuned in if I see anything, okay? It's really pretty out here. All these pine trees and how secluded this forest is. I think this would be an excellent place for an undiscovered creature to hide, or something supernatural. Makes you wonder what kind of secrets are being hidden in areas like this, and why they maintain conservation areas. Is it simply for resources such as logging, mining, and holding on to valuable land, which does make sense, but at the same time makes you wonder why they choose certain areas to hold on to, especially since they have activity. But it could be because they are using these resources, and by keeping these forests intact, this is where these creatures like to hang out at. Lots of questions we don't have answers to, but hopefully in time we will figure out more and more. All right, so I've walked miles down this random logging road. I haven't seen too much, and it just blows my mind how there's so much stuff going on in certain areas close to civilization, and how people find structures just right off the side of the road. But when you go into deep wilderness areas, you don't find too much. What the heck? I mean, there's like trees across the trail, but it's not like boom, 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 one after another directly across the trail, because trees do fall. You think you'd experience something in the deeper areas, but that does not seem to be the case. These things are coming up to people's houses, close to highways, roads, and they can pretty much be wherever they want and remain hidden. But still, I figured I'd see some deer, black bear, something. All right, so far today it's been kind of windy, but earlier I went into the conservation area and I didn't see anything unusual, which is to be expected because people have lived around here their entire lives, and a lot of people say, I've never seen Bigfoot, I've never heard anything. So when you go exploring in these areas, that's what you should expect. To not experience anything, to not find anything. And if there was sign all over the place, it wouldn't be such a mystery. So I'm not surprised when I go to big forested areas and don't find anything. And I'm sure it's the same way with people that live around, let's say like Mount St. Helens and like Bluff Creek. Like they go there because someone else has seen a Bigfoot and they don't find anything, they don't see anything, they don't hear anything. And I think that is the norm, so I'm not surprised. David and I went to another one of his properties that's probably about 10 miles from here, and it was some really nice land. We ended up getting the truck stuck, and I mean, the motor was sitting it was touching ground, and the front tires were just spinning. They weren't touching the ground either, so we had to have the neighbor pull us out with the tractor. So thank God for that. But yeah, the property was pretty interesting. No one lives back there, and you can tell that the hogs have been on the property, and he's been wanting to show me that for quite a while. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I was pretty tired, honestly, and I'm just kind of worn out from being outside for too long. And I don't know, I'm having a blast though. But I did feel like that property had potential, because yet again, he has another property that butts up to a different conservation area. It's not the same one that's here, and it's like the same scenario. You have this property of farmland all the way at the end of the road, and it butts up to state forest. So I can see why David wanted me to check that area out. We didn't see anything strange, but it's a good spot, and it definitely has potential. It seems pretty spooky. He said there was a Civil War soldier that was buried on the property, so that is interesting. I think the guy got hurt, he got gangrene, and they buried him out there. But yeah, I think David's getting something to eat right now. He's supposed to come back up here, and I'm just sitting around listening, because exploring isn't getting me anywhere. You think it would, you think eventually you would find something, but it seems like I've had a lot of activity just by hanging out at camp. And yeah, last night after I did those vocalizations, I'm not sure, but I think those were coyotes. Those howls were pretty unusual. But this morning when I met up with David, he said the red cow that we seen yesterday had a baby last night. So I'm thinking, with that cow having a newborn calf, maybe the coyotes could smell, I don't know what it's called, the placenta, and they were howling. But it seemed like I triggered them. It seemed like they were communicating with my Bigfoot calls, and I've heard that a lot with people who talk about hearing Bigfoot. They say first they hear Bigfoot, and then the coyotes fire off, which is strange. But that's kind of what I've noticed too. It seems like when the Sasquatch vocalize, the coyotes are triggered. And yeah, it just seems like whenever I call, they answer. And I've noticed the same thing with owls. Whenever I do loud, powerful wood knocks, or I do like this loud whoop, the owls will call. So I think like it's like a shock response. And turkey hunters know what I'm talking about. When you do like a crow call or an owl call, you get one to gobble. Those calls have nothing to do with turkeys, but for some reason it fires them off. And it's the same way with the Sasquatch. So the Sasquatch are triggering animals, and I don't know what the reason behind that is. But yeah, I keep thinking about the vocalizations that I heard last Saturday. It's Saturday today, so it was a week ago today. But I think that was Sasquatch. And I don't know, it was a terrifying call. I mean, the first one, like I said, sounded high pitched, and the second one was like really deep. And they were both long and drawn out calls, so I don't know. If it wasn't Bigfoot, maybe it was an elk. Maybe elk call all year round, I'm not sure. But it sounded pretty weird. But I keep thinking about that, and just the weird anomalies that were taking place last time. Like, I was aiming my thermal device down there, and I told you guys that I had seen some strange stuff on the thermal. But when me and another person that was with me went walking down there, like I said, we were out of breath. But when we came back, the people that were watching us on my thermal device said, your thermal just froze. And I looked on my phone screen, and it was like all glitched out, which is weird. So there seems to be like, I don't know, some type of disturbance with electronics up here, and they seem to malfunction. So I don't know what that is, but for some reason, when these strange lights are moving through the area, our phones will just die. The equipment fails. So definitely has something to do with energy. Everything in this universe is made up of energy. So it makes sense, but at the same time, it makes no sense. So David and I were talking about a Bigfoot encounter that was reported to me when I first started the channel, and basically there was a construction crew near Van Buren, Missouri, or Winona, and the supervisor contacted me and told me that him and his construction crew were out there working on this highway, and they had these bright lights set up because they were working night shift. And he said this Sasquatch came out, and I can't remember the details if it tore things up, but I mean, from what I remember, it was pretty territorial. But yeah, I want to hear more about that encounter. I talked to him about it. This was years ago, and I remember asking him if he would come on the channel, and he said he would like to, but he doesn't want to ruin his reputation because he's a supervisor at this company. But yeah, if you are listening to this right now, David and I would certainly like to meet up with you and listen to this encounter, because I want to know what happened. It's pretty interesting that this creature just came out and presented itself to you guys, and I think it had to do with the machinery, and I think you mentioned that the loud noises from the machinery disturbed this creature, and I wonder why that is. Like, they seem to get irritated by loud sounds, whether it's a chainsaw, a four-wheeler, a motorcycle, fireworks, gunshots, and I think that messes with their senses for some reason. It has something to do with frequency, possibly, or it just irritates them. Like, I don't know, if you hear like people playing loud music and you're just trying to enjoy nature, it's going to tick you off. Or maybe if you're hunting and people are playing loud music or running machinery, it's going to irritate you. So maybe that's what was going on. But yeah, that's pretty close to this area. Van Buren's not too far away. I've had a lot of reports from Van Buren, Missouri, and if there is a connection with the ancient Bible, I do know in Van Buren, Missouri, off of the Current River, they found a giant skeleton. They've also found one in Stillville, Missouri, off the Merrimack River in a cave. I think the guy's name was Billy Harmon, and they found a giant skeleton, and you can still find photos of that skeleton in the Stillville library. And I've seen the photos. It's pretty interesting, and these things look very ancient, and they look very native. I don't know how to explain it, just ancient and native, but they definitely look similar to the giants that have been found around the world, such as the red-haired giants in Utah. I can't remember the cave, Lovelock Cave, I think it's called. But yeah, they're all very similar. So it seems like the giants were a global thing, and the Sasquatch today are a global phenomenon or creature, whatever you want to call it. I wonder if there's a connection. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you think there's a connection with Sasquatch and the giants? There seems to be. And the fact that they're found in caves, because there's a lot of reports where people encounter Sasquatch in caves or supernatural beings or creatures. I don't care if it's a reptilian. I mean, I think there's a giant cave in China or Indonesia, and the locals claim that these reptilian creatures come out of that cave. And I mean, is it folklore, or is it just something that science has not discovered? A lot of things that are folklore end up being reality. So the stories originate from somewhere. And a lot of times, like, Hollywood will take these real stories and make like spin-offs of them and just like glorify it as just something that's not real but makes a good story. But they get their stories from somewhere else. So really, Hollywood's stealing the truth, making money off of it, and making it sound like it's just, you know, something that couldn't possibly ever happen. But the stories originate from somewhere, and it's just spooky to think about that there's so much going on this planet that we have no idea about. But at the same time, we can't let it affect our lives, because it's really not affecting our lives. I mean, this stuff rarely happens. It is happening, but it rarely happens. So you can't really get too sucked into it, because I mean, it's not really affecting us unless we directly see it, but still, it might be something that you only see once in your life and it never happens again, so you can't let it take you over. As I'm sitting out here searching for Sasquatch, out in the middle of nowhere, using my weekend to look for Sasquatch. But I've seen them multiple times, so I feel like that justifies the reason of me being out here searching for these hominids. Because if it would have been one time, I would have marked it off as, okay, I'm never gonna see these things again. But I've seen them multiple times, and I feel like that is, that's a means to search for these things, to look for answers, because I feel like I get a good chance. Like when I had my first sighting, I didn't know what it was. When I had the second sighting, I saw it clear as day. And then I thought I was never going to see it again. And then the third sighting, I seen the juvenile, and I was like, okay, there's a family group around here. And then the fourth sighting, the whole clan came up one night, and that was terrifying, because I'd never seen anything so dang tall. And that was the scariest thing ever, because a lot of people say, oh, these things are huge up north in Canada and Alaska. Like what I'd seen that night defies logic. Like seeing a Bigfoot defies logic, but that creature that was in the woods that night, all I saw was eye shine, but the eye shine went up to about, I don't want to exaggerate, anywhere from 12 to 14 feet. And I think 13 or 14 feet is actually more accurate, but I want to say 12 to make people happy, because I didn't go out there and measure it. Like I'd never seen anything that high, that tall. Like when that creature rose off of all fours, it was higher than a basketball hoop. And a lot of people listening are like, what, higher than a basketball hoop? That's bull BS. But it really was. And these things are the same here in the Midwest as they are in the Himalayan mountains in Australia and Canada and up north. I truly do believe, according to my experiences, and I'm just out here to find answers. And I know you guys are watching because you're trying to connect the dots as well. And I want to say I appreciate everyone for listening, and for the people that chime in and they have all these theories, whether it's these things are a relic hominid, these things are the Nephilim, it's an unknown primate. I appreciate all your guys' theories, because honestly, no one really knows. Whenever someone says, oh, that's bullcrap, these things are demons, they don't really know. No one knows, but I don't feel like anyone's wrong. And I say it all the time. People ask me, what do you think these things are? And I say all the above. It's an unknown primate, a relic hominid, a supernatural creature. It's demonic. It's all the above. And I just feel like everyone is right. If a lot of people are saying the same thing, it's probably true. Not in all cases, but regarding theories of the Sasquatch. But yeah, I haven't heard anything strange. You think if you went to the deep forest where people have had activity, you would hear wood knocks and stuff. But it's not happening. Maybe the clan out here just doesn't care for me. Like, they want to have nothing to do with me. But I can't say for sure. All I know is they are out here. And I was telling David, God knows what's in these woods. We go out there into the park and there's no houses and the roads are just super long, just nothing but forest everywhere. I told him God knows what is hiding in these woods. And I said, by that, I mean Dogman. And he's like, well, probably. And we don't know. We don't know if it's Bigfoot that's been killing the animals out here. Maybe it's some other type of cryptid creature. It's scary to think about. Someone's driving down the Forest Service road. I figured there'd be more side-by-sides on the weekends, but there's not. There was that annoying guy last night running his dogs. Oh man, that was annoying. I guess maybe he was training them. I can't see him hunting right now. It's turkey season, but who knows? I don't know the seasons for running dogs. Apparently running a drone is disturbing wildlife, but letting dogs chase animals up into trees and shooting them out of the trees isn't disturbing wildlife. Whoever's making up these laws is just full of shit. I mean, honestly, who are these politicians that are making up the laws for us? You guys are so full of crap. I'm tired of it. And I mean, I respect the laws, but a lot of the stuff that they make is just garbage. Like, I don't know who hired these people, who elected them, but things need to change. I'm sure there's millions of people saying that out there, but I'm serious. Never had any luck rock clacking. Now I have heard rock clacks, but when I rock clack, I never get a response. I've only had responses with wood knocking and calling. That's it. All right, split the rock in half. Every now and then I'm looking down here with the binoculars, but it's really hard to see. These things can camouflage very well, so if they were down there, they'd be hard to see, because the last time I was here, like I said, I saw the shape on the thermal device. I looked through the binoculars and I couldn't see anything, so if they are around, they are sneaky. And a lot of people talk about the cloaking, which I've experienced it, but if something can be invisible like the predator, how the heck are we supposed to see that? Which would make sense why they can't find Sasquatch. People only catch glimpses of them. Something like cloaking, that just doesn't make sense to me. Even if they are doing it, like, it doesn't biologically, scientifically make any logical sense whatsoever. But anything's possible, right? All right, let's throw the drone up into the air and we'll see if we can get any footage of the surrounding area. Who knows? Maybe we'll see something. One strange thing that we've noticed is throughout the years we've seen less and less deer, and especially on this trip we have not seen very many deer on this property. I think I've seen 2 deer the whole time I've been here, and that was on the way here, and then last night one walked out down there where we typically see the orbs. But we discussed the reasons behind that, and we believe when these creatures are around, they deplete the food sources. And we've heard a lot of people say that, but it's hard to say. But at the same time, he is finding dead deer down in his fields, and it just seems like there's less and less. David seems to think it's because of the turkey hunters, but there's so much land out here. I don't see how they would spook the deer to where they just completely disappear everywhere and then just don't come back, because there hasn't been turkey hunters here in a while. So I don't know. Makes me think that something's around, especially with what I've been hearing around here. So who knows? That's something to keep in mind. People do say they follow the food sources, and that's where they're at. And when he was having activity, there was a ton of deer around. So I don't know. Hopefully we lay eyes on one soon. I think David's gonna come up here and hang out for a little bit. Hopefully when he does, we experience something, and I'm hoping we do. Trying to better understand cloaking and when these things hide behind the tree. Is it hard for you guys to see me? Now, if I'm not moving, and if I move real slow, but if I move fast, you can see me. What if I stop in the woods? Or if I change shape? Pretty freaky. This thing's been smushed up for a while now, so I think this will freak David out. Hopefully he doesn't have a heart attack if he shows up here and sees me wearing this. He'll be like, Miguel, I seen a Sasquatch at camp. It was god awful looking. Freaky. Sasquatch wears stylish shoes. Let's get out there. Let's get out there. We're gonna find us some Sasquatch. Let's go. Go. Yeah. All right, so what we're gonna do now is walk the trails throughout the forest around here, and we're gonna see if we can sneak up on some critters. Let's get out there and find some Sasquatch. My gosh, it's a beautiful day out here in the Ozarks. It's just a wonderful day to be alive, and I'm so grateful. You just never know what's gonna happen when you're out in the woods. That's the thing with these encounters. People are just blown away when they encounter one of these creatures or just see something rare. And it always happens when you least expect it. I talk about that all the time. You just can never be ready for a Sasquatch. I mean, how could you be? You're minding your own business, focusing on what you're doing, and all of a sudden you see this giant creature stand up and walk away, or run in front of your vehicle, or you're fishing and all of a sudden big rocks start landing out in the water in front of you. Or you just see this huge creature just open up its mouth and show all its teeth. I mean, whatever it may be, it's always terrifying, and it just really gets your adrenaline going. I rarely talk to people that are just super happy about these things. Whenever they see them, most people are pretty shocked. I would say a lot of the people that are happy about the Sasquatch are like people that are finding structures and getting these gifts, and they just quite haven't seen them yet. think it's a little bit different when you lay eyes on them. It kind of changes the game. But you guys are looking at a Sasquatch right now, so I'm sure a lot of you guys are shocked and surprised. But don't be alarmed. This Sasquatch is docile, harmless, and he just wants to mind his own business. All right, I think David's coming. I'm gonna go try to hide and see if he sees me. I think he's coming. It's hard to say. We're gonna see if we can sneak up on David. Hopefully we don't freak him out too bad, but this is just a test. We are conducting a test. But hopefully it doesn't spook David too bad. That's not my intentions. So whatever happens is out of my hands from here. Not really, but we'll be responsible about it. He's coming. It's gonna freak him out. That scare you?
Booger. No.
You saw the camera in the Sasquatch's hand?
No, couldn't see the camera.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well you handled it pretty well. I was gonna walk across.
I was going that way.
Okay, I heard you, but I was like, well, maybe I should walk around the entire property, but then I heard you coming, so I was like, ooh, this is a good test. How do I do this without giving David a heart attack? There ain't no way around it.
Come out and say boo.
Yeah. But I was gonna walk up there into those pines. I know Linda every now and then looks out the window, so I was like, we'll see what this looks like.
She would have.
She would have got the.
She was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping I didn't catch a bullet.
She went and got pizza, and she made a peach cobbler up there.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you know Sasquatch likes pizza and peach cobbler.
If you're hungry, you can go up and get something to eat.
That's up to you.
Something sucked the bone marrow out of that bone.
I noticed that. Yeah. Wonder if they like bone marrow. All right, so David wants me to walk by the pond to see if Linda will be able to spot me. And this isn't a prank. We don't play pranks on Sasquatch Theory, but we are going to do an experiment with the ghillie suit to see how well it actually works, if people can see me from a distance, and it will be kind of funny. Hopefully it doesn't freak her out too bad. David said, give me some time to get in the house. So yeah, we're gonna see what happens. Hopefully she doesn't freak out too bad. But on the way up here, we did notice these big rocks, bigger than a softball, in the fields, and David claims he picks up all the rocks. But that's what I've noticed out here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, see? They are on leaves and pine needles, which I just don't understand how the leaves and pine needles get underneath the rocks. Maybe David threw that one, I don't know. See what I mean? A bed of pine needles. That's just weird. Little nest for the rocks. Yeah, it seems like something's been throwing rocks up here. We'll see. Yeah, see that? Weird. Yeah, all these rocks have been moved fairly recently. Huh. Well, this would be a good spot to watch people. And if you guys have watched my videos in the past, it does seem like these things like to hang up here in the pines up on this hill overlooking the property. But yeah, let's head towards the pond. We're gonna see if we can find any tracks. David's gonna tell Linda to look by the pond. Might freak her out a little bit, but we shall see. All right, we're heading towards the pond, going through the pines. You can see David's property. Been seeing some woodland ducks in there. The ducks are so cool looking, especially the woodland ducks. They're like black with like red and white on their head.
What'd you say?
This guy don't look too happy.
Hey, knucklehead. How are you, boy? Huh? How are you? How are you, old boy? How you doing? You're a pretty good old boy, huh? Are you a pretty good old boy? You been in the mud, look at your feet. Yeah? Look at your feet. Oh, girl. Oh, boy. There's little Red and her baby.
You're pretty brave to be petting the bulls.
There's that little baby.
No, yeah, that one was born last night.
Yep.
Well, I came on a magical day.
Girl, come here. Come here. Come here.
She's like, where's the food first? Give me the goods and I'll let you pet me.
Come here. She's actually coming to us.
Yeah, she's like, I'm hungry.
Hey, baby. Where you been? Where you been, girl?
That's probably the one we saw last night at the campground.
Huh? Where you been? Doggone it anyway. Things are going to get settled down.
What are you looking at?
It's to the left of where your camera is, right there in the field.
It kind of looks like something black back there. I'm zooming in all the way too.
I got something.
Pull out the binoculars. Trying to hold it steady, but
Yeah.
too hard.
It must not be nothing.
Isn't? Okay, I was about to say, that's where I saw the figure at on the thermal device last time, so wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it kind of freaked her out a little bit.
Oh, it did.
I thought she was just kidding.
Nope.
But I saw her go back in the house real quick. I was
Yeah,
like,
she was
that's
fixing to
good.
slam the door on me and leave me out there.
Yeah. Then she
know.
came back out and poked her head out, and she's like, "That's Miguel." I heard her say that, and she's like, "Go grab the gun, grab the gun." I was like, "Oh boy."
Yep.
I think she said that's Miguel, but then she's saying grab the gun. So I was getting a little worried there.
She would never tell me to grab the gun if it was real.
Let's say I'm fixing to be turned into Bass Pro.
She would shut me out though,
Mm-hmm.
and lock the door, so I couldn't get in.
Linda's gonna take me to Oklahoma for the $3 million bounty.
Yeah.
She's like, "It's a Sasquatch, but it kind of looks Latino."
He's a Mexican Sasquatch.
Yeah. I think his name's Miguel. Oh,
El
yeah.
Squatcho.
Yeah, El Squatcho. El Chupacabra.
Yeah.
So you told me last time that, I don't know, you were talking about it with the group that was here, that you heard this metal door sound, but it was above you. What were you doing that day?
I was checking trail camera and checking the cows down there at the end of that fence, down across the creek from my house.
And you just heard like a metal door slam?
Yeah, it just sounded like well, it kind of sounded like whenever you rake a metal door across the concrete, it's dragging, and then you shut it and it pong. Or it sounded a little bit like whenever you just turn loose of a dumpster door or something and it falls real hard.
I've heard it
Metal
2 or 3
dumpster
different
door.
times. One time when I was camping out behind my place where they set up structures, it sounded like someone threw a big rock at a stop sign. I'm like, there's no metal back there. And then another time at my creek bottom, sounded like a metal door shut. And I described that one like someone shutting the hatch to a tank. Like, bang. The third time I heard it, I was with the police officer by Fort Leonard Wood in the Mark Twain National Forest. We had his truck parked at the Mayfield Cemetery. And it's nothing out, there's nothing out there but woods and the big piney river. But we were walking through a big pine thicket, and he actually found a shed horn, and we were looking at this structure, and when I touched the structure, it sounded like someone shut the bed to his truck. And I was like, dude,
I remember that video.
yeah, I was like, someone's getting into your truck, and we booked it. There was nobody there.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Sounded like somebody shut the tailgate on his truck.
But is that kind of like what you heard? Like someone just slammed a metal door, huh?
Well, it
No, you heard
and
you heard it creak, huh?
yeah, sounded like it was dragging across the concrete floor.
You know one thing that's scary? I recently, at my other research area, I'll just call it that, where I had my first sighting, I set up my audio recorder recently. I went back in there because me and a buddy were hiking, and we heard like someone chopping wood. And there's turkeys pouring out of that area, just boom, 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 boom. And I told him, I was like, you really think someone's going to be chopping wood with all those wild turkeys? He's like, no. I was like, well, maybe somebody's back there. He's like, there ain't nobody back there. He's not a believer, but I'm sure he was really wondering. But I set up my recorder in there. Sure enough, there's vocalizations. Could be coyotes, but solid wood knocks. I mean, it sounds like a big male Sasquatch just pounding on a tree. But I think they're hunting because that area is just like the trails back here in the conservation area. They're even labeled like food plot 1, 2. It looks just like here. But there is something in that recording that really blew my mind. An explosion. Like in the air. It's not a gunshot. And I guess people have been hearing this all over North America or all over the world. And they call them skyquakes. It's just like an explosion in the air. It's not a sonic boom. It's just like a bomb went off in the air. No one can figure out what it is, but I think it's strange because in my recording, I got solid wood knocks. For sure Sasquatch. Because I've seen them in there. They were wood knocking when I hiked in there the other day, and I set up my recorder. Nothing else that could be at 2 or 3 in the morning. But the fact that skyquake happened in the same area there's Sasquatch activity, that almost makes me feel like it's connected.
Well, they call it skyquake because they don't have nothing else to say.
It's just like the lights. The scientists are like, that must be swamp gas. It's got to be friction from the water hitting the rocks, and it creates these energy anomalies, which I think they're just BSing us. They don't have an explanation, but they want to be in the spotlight as a figure that has an explanation to the unknown, and I think they're full of crap.
Well, my old man and just they used to sit around and play music, go have little parties and sit around and play music, and they'd talk about foxfire, this glowing fungus, and it's called foxfire. But here's the thing, Miguel. That type of stuff does not move. you know, it stays stationary, and you can walk right up on it and figure out what it is, find out what it is, you know. But when you got these orbs floating around, changing color and all that kind of stuff, changing shapes, that's not no fungus.
No.
You know, and that's I don't know what it is, but if people's out in the woods where there's a lot of activity stuff going on, they're going to probably see it if they're out there enough.
Yeah.
So
the guy I interviewed in Swedenborg, Missouri, I think it's in Pulaski County, just north of like where the Big Piney is, but he was back there at the fishing pond and he ran into a mother Sasquatch with a baby. And when he came around that corner, the mother gasped like, like, oh crap, and the little one was freaked out. But I guess the male chased him out of there and was throwing big old logs at him. And, but he said when he confronted, or I guess when the big male confronted him, they were pretty much standing, not face to face, but pretty close. He said a big orb popped up in front of it, like above its head, and then another orb above that, and then it just disappeared.
Yeah.
So that's scary. And I've heard reports on the internet where the Sasquatch are carrying a ball of light in their hand, like an orb or something.
Well, that picture they got down there, that's what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a ball right in front of this something.
Yeah.
Is behind it, but
that's the thing. Nobody knows what the orbs are, but yet people have reported the Sasquatch with the orbs. I haven't seen them with the orbs, but that day that they whistled at me, that was like the first real interaction I had with them at my place. An hour later, I went up there and there was 2 orbs. So you have Sasquatch activity and then an hour later orbs.
Well,
I feel like it's connected. But
down there where I heard that loud metal sound, and it sounded like it's right above me. It just sounded right there.
That's the scary thing, is it was above you.
But that's the same spot and the same camera that captured that orb coming up the field, about 10 foot off the field, and it was down there by my house, kind of floating around. It just appeared, and it just kept coming. Now, what I wanted to know and what I tried to figure out was, how did that activate that camera from that far? Because that was 150, 200 yards from the camera. But that camera, it was on video, and it picked that thing up, that light, and it went kind of across the field, and then it just started coming towards that camera. And it got within what looked like 50 feet of that camera. It didn't get much bigger than what it was way down there. You know, it wound up about the size of that jug, you know, probably the size of a basketball. But, and when I first seen it, it was about the size of probably a golf ball on the video.
Yeah.
And that video, I downloaded. It's in that computer somewhere, but
that floating stick that I got on the video camera, on the trail camera that one day, that was pretty weird, because you see like the stick get bent down and then it gets thrown across the screen.
Yeah, and that camera caught it in midair.
Yeah. That was weird.
But, you know,
what's the difference between ghost activity and an invisible Sasquatch?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? It's like, how do you know it's a ghost, and how do you know it's not a Sasquatch? How do we know that the Sasquatch aren't entities?
I guess ghosts aren't necessarily supposed to be out in the woods or out in the middle of the field, but they probably are.
Yeah.
Probably are, you know, but
I hear that a lot with like Civil War soldiers and Native Americans.
oh
See
yeah.
them walking across fields and stuff. Especially like in Gettysburg. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people talk about that. I've never seen anything like that before, but
My cousin Jack, that's where he lives by, out there by Gettysburg. They found a lot of musket rounds
mm-hmm.
in their yard and belt buckles, and you know they're just about rotted away, but it's still artifacts that, and they find a lot of that stuff right there in their yard, or used to, whenever he would be making him another shed or something and leveling things out. And
That kind of stuff freaks me out.
well, I tell you, Miguel, when I seen my mother, I wouldn't recommend anybody wanting to see somebody that's already passed on,
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't a good feeling for me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my dogs, both my dogs,
They saw it.
seen it too,
Yeah.
and my little dog, that outside dog, my little Cocker Spaniel, she just got underneath the chair, and her hair all bristled up, and she was growling, which Mom,
She wouldn't try to scare you like that, though.
no, but Mom, Molly, the Cocker Spaniel,
Mm-hmm.
she could pet her. I mean, she didn't ever try to bite Mom, but that was coming down my sidewalk, it just about made me sick. It messed me up for quite a while,
Well, I can imagine.
but because I knew that my mother should be, but here she comes down the sidewalk right to my house, and gets right there at my steps on the porch. Just, she's gone, and it just,
Well, I'm definitely sorry you went through all that.
well,
I know the whole ordeal was
I mean, that
horrifying, and then to experience that, it just...
people say there's no such thing, but I'm gonna tell you what, you know what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was aggravated. I was aggravated at that little old dog because it wouldn't go outside whenever I tried to put it outside to go to the bathroom. And I was already up, so I was going to let her do her business and we'd go to bed. She wouldn't do it. Not until I come to bed, and then she started hopping up and down, wanting outside.
Yeah.
But there's just so much stuff that, and we don't know nothing. Well, I mean, ain't nobody, it's your own personal experience.
I think a lot of people have had those experiences. Just a lot of them brush it off and say it was sleep paralysis or hallucinations, and they convince themselves of that. But there is a fair amount of people that have just never experienced anything like that. But it's
Well,
not
I
right
wouldn't
to
wish-
not believe people that have.
I wouldn't wish it on nobody.
Nope. I've never seen what they call a full body apparition, but I have seen shadow people. One solid shadow person. But
Oh, my mother it was in full color.
yeah, see, I've never seen that.
Her sweater she had on, her pants, and her hair, it was all in color. The only thing that I couldn't see was her face.
Mm-hmm.
She had her head down. I never could see her face.
Yeah.
But
Do you think it was something dark pretending to be her, or do you think it was actually her?
Miguel, it was like, the feeling that I got is I finally found you.
Really?
because where she had been killed was up the upper end of the yard in our other house. And we moved when we got the other house, the other trailer. We moved it plumb down, and it was like she'd been looking for me. Is the feeling that I got. Well, I finally found you. Here you are. But
Did she seem like she was okay, or was it like a distress kind of thing? Like she wasn't okay? What kind of feeling?
the feeling I got, she wasn't okay.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't supposed to be there. You know? She was supposed to be at peace. She wasn't supposed to be there. And it really worked on me. I just couldn't, because of the feeling that I had when it was happening is what really goofed me up, because it was just not a pleasant feeling at all.
Yeah.
I mean, my little old mom was 4'11" and weighed about 87 pounds, soaking wet. And just as everything was, she so easy going, laughing all the time. She had a hard life.
Yeah. Well, sounds like she was a good woman.
Well, it didn't take nothing to satisfy her, to please her,
Mm-hmm.
you know. We lived for years without any kind of electric or water. We even lived in a house one time, an old log cabin, well, I like froze to death. It had a dirt floor in it. And Mom kept that dirt floor swept. You couldn't hardly even tell it was a dirt floor. She cleaned it all the time.
Yeah.
We lived in a barn one time. Just whatever, you know.
People definitely take for granted today's living. You know, they complain about what they don't have, but they don't realize how easy they got it compared to people
Right.
back then.
And I did, you know, I was just a little kid. I didn't know that you're supposed to have anything else. You know, we just,
That was normal.
yeah, it was normal. But, you
I
know,
go to Mexico and visit my family. And they lived like in a rock house, grass growing on top of the roof, dirt floors, no electric. Well, they had electric, but they didn't have running water, no bathroom. You had to go out in the woods to go to the bathroom.
Sean, my oldest boy, his church does missionary work, and they go down there and build houses
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
for
told me about that.
folks down in that area, down Mexico.
People don't realize how good Americans got it till you,
No,
once you get across the border. You're
they,
like, wow, this is bad, real bad.
the group of people that stays there will get a concrete pad ready, and then they'll go down there and they may put up 2 or 3 little houses, and the people that they're going to go that gets the little house, they help them. I don't know how they determine who's going to get a house and who ain't going to get a house, but they're not very big, but they got a roof over their head and it's theirs.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And I guess now I don't know this for sure, but I think I heard Sean say that they have a community well drilled so that they can run water to all of them.
Yeah. See,
I'm not sure about that, but
the
it
things
seems
people
like
take for granted is running water, wells, electric, warm bed, roof over your head.
yeah,
They're
just
so used to it.
just being able to have a place to safe place to sleep at night, you know. But still, yet people that don't believe, even if they just flat out said, yeah, they've been here for years, and you just might as well. They're still not gonna believe in it, you know, until they see it.
Yeah, once you see it, there's no going back.
Nope. You say, oh crap. What is happening?
Takes years for your mind to really wrap around it. Even if you've seen it. It took me a long time to come to terms with everything I've encountered and experienced. And it's just like,
well, and that's another thing. When you do have an experience with it, the only thing you get obsessed because you want to know everything you can know about it. You know,
definitely helps hearing other people validate the same thing that you've encountered.
Yeah, and that's all you got to do. When you have an encounter, just listen to these other people.
It's the same dang thing.
Telling their encounters, and you're going to find that it happened to them like it happened to you, you know. So
that's what it is.